Well, for the first time, we are hearing from the father of Elliot Rogers. Remember, he is the student who killed 6 people and injured 13 others during a shooting and stabbing spree just last month near the University of California in Santa Barbara.
Well, in an exclusive interview with ABC's Barbara Walters, Peter Rogers says that he did not see the mass murder coming and says every day he's haunted by his son's actions. Listen.
It's like a reverse nightmare situation. When you go to sleep normally, you have a nightmare and you wake up and, oh, everything's okay.
Yeah.
Now I go to sleep, I might have a nice dream. And then I wake up and then slowly the truth of what happened dawns on me. And, that is that my son was a mass murderer. And then I think about the victims and I think about what he did. And I'm trying to process it. This is the horror story. This is the American horror story, or the world's horror story, is when you have somebody who on the outside is one thing and on the inside is something completely different, and you don't see it.
In an open letter to ABC News, Rogers said his son was not evil, but mentally ill. This is what he wrote. "I tried my best to do my duty as a father, but obviously my best was not enough. My duty now is to do as much as I can to try and stop this from happening again. Too many lives are being lost." That's a quote there.
Let's talk more about this with licensed psychologist Dr. Erik Fisher. Thanks for being with us again. I want to get your reaction to what you just heard.
Well, in Zen Buddhism, there's a koan that says, make medicine from suffering. And when life happens to us, we can look at it and we can be buried by it, or we can do something with it. And that's when I say, let life happen for you. This is something that's very difficult for anybody to say it happened for them. But when we can try to make understanding and out of pain and turn that into a translation of learning and growth and healing for others, that's a very positive and powerful thing to do. And I think that's what the Father's trying to do, because he knows his own personal loss, and he can probably relate to other people's losses that lost people, not only through his son's actions, but through some of these other actions that we've seen in the news that have been horrific happenings with other teens and young adults.
Well, and we know that he did recently speak with at least one of the fathers of one of the folks that was killed. His son actually had been killed during this killing spree. What do you think of Rogers' decision to come forward and speak directly to these victims? How does it help?
Well, it's incredibly courageous, but also I can't imagine the survivor's guilt that he feels, and the number of moments in a day that he questions what could I have done differently. Yeah. But it's a sense of empowerment for him to do something with what's happened with a situation that felt so helpless. As he said, there's his son's ideal self that he showed the world, and the feel self that he kept inside that ultimately came out through this very real action. And it's very difficult to understand that, but as we look at our own feel, real, and ideal selves, and how we show them differently, we can begin to understand what happens inside of somebody, that when you hide it and bury it for so long and you don't get the help, it can almost grow in some ways like a cancer, and it permutates and it mutates and it grows into this thing that often we don't even want to identify ourselves, and then it can burst out in some of these horrific actions.
Wow. Hey, listen, don't go away, because something else we want to talk to you about. Police are searching.